Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout for Hip Kit Club and I'm using the 2021 January kits, and I've got some things already chosen here, including my picture. I got that right from the start, which is rare, and it's in color, a pool photo, which is my favorite kind of picture to scrap. I'm going to start with one of the cut files that you can get this month, as well as some of these pocket life cards. I just love all these colors. That little rainbow is adorable, and I'm going to try to use that, as well as these puffy button stickers. So I kind of know where the photo is going to go. It just naturally tucks in there above the word dream. And then look how this rainbow fits right here on the side of my picture. It kind of looks like an extension from the side of the pool, the way it kind of runs off the photo. The way I could tuck the rainbow, it looks like the rainbow's kind of coming out of the picture. I love when things like that happen. I didn't even plan that. It's just something that I noticed. And so that instantly told me right away where the rainbow is going to go. So that kind of helped me put this design together. Now I'm going to use this light purple cardstock as my background. It's from the cardstock kit, and I'm going to do a lot of mixed media on the background here. So I'm going to go with some white gesso first to prep the paper. And I've been using clear gesso a lot lately because I've been using white for a background. But when I use color for a background, I like to go with white gesso. A, because it gives me some white space, and B, it kind of helps fade out some of the color. Now I still want this to be a purple background, but I want the area where I put the mixed media to be more on a white area and kind of fade out to the purple area, if that makes sense. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to fussy cut this little rainbow and the cloud out because I want to basically use that as a die cut. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I can start by tucking that to the right side of the photo and get started with that. The background is dry. I put the photo aside. I want to use the stencil that we get in the color kit this month. It's some stripes and some dots, really, really cute, perfect for adding texture to the background. And I'm going to use my palette knife with some modeling paste, and I'm just going to kind of scrape it right over the stencil, right over the area where I gessoed. And what this is going to do is when modeling paste dries, it's very rough and bumpy, so whatever the shape of your stencil is, that's going to be the shape that is left on your paper. And when it dries white. It's very rough to the touch, so it gives lots of texture and interest to the background. And when I go to add all the color, you're going to be able to see all of this modeling paste sort of come to life and jump off the page. And the modeling paste really doesn't take that long to dry, but you definitely want to let it dry completely before adding any liquid on top of it. But you can kind of see there the texture. It's dry now. I let it dry. I love to touch it, and it just adds some really good texture and interest to the background, and I love that. So the background is pretty much ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and try to decide what I'm going to use first before I add stuff to the background, because I want to know what colors I'm going to be using, where they're going to go, and that's going to help determine what I'm going to put on the background. So I'm going to go ahead and get my photo layered up here. I'm going to start with some white tissue paper. I like to just have this little messy, subtle layer behind the photo. So I always start with tissue paper, and since I know the photo is going to go there, I love how that just sort of tucks right into the dream part. I'm going to use some pocket life cards there to add as layers, more layers behind the photo, a little bit of pink, a little bit of purple and white. And I did run my edge distresser over there. I got a question a couple weeks ago about, what is that little black thing that I use on the side of the papers? And that's just an edge distressing tool, and it's got a little tiny blade right in the center of it. You can't even really see it, but whenever you scrape it on the edges of your paper, it just sort of ruffles up the edges and tears them a little bit. And I love that. It just kind of makes them look a little imperfect and ragged, which I like. So that's why I do that. I also added another pocket life card that's got all the rainbow stripes on it, but I just want that kind of peeking at the top there because I'm already going to have the actual rainbow on the right. And I love how that looks with the picture. I don't know, I just think that looks cool. So I know that the rainbow is going there no matter what. I'm going to make everything else work around it. So I'm going to back the word big with some pieces of pocket life card and some pattern paper. So I'm just going to take the inside pieces that were cut out, and I'm going to trace those and then cut these out and kind of figure out where they're going to go. Well, I know where they're going to go, but figure out on each, like which color is going to go in which letter, because I want each letter to be a different color. And these were easy to do because there were only 3 letters and they're pretty easy to cut. They're pretty big and open. And so I'm going to do that. And yeah, there are a lot of cut files this month, so make sure you check out the download section over on the HipKit website because there are a lot of cute ones. Now, I have not added those letters. I haven't stuck them down or glued them down yet. I just sort of set them back inside of the cut file for now because I want to go through all of the embellishments and sort of figure out what else I'm going to add to this page. I've got everything started, but now it's a matter of everything else. And if you've gotten these kits, you know that there are a ton of embellishments. There's chipboard stickers, there's die cuts, there's puffy stickers, there's wood veneer. I mean, you name it and it's in there. So it takes a while to go through everything because there's so many cute things. So when I am using the chipboard pieces, I like to peel off the sticky part so I can move them around the page because there is no way I'm ready to glue anything down at this point. And so I don't want anything to stick. So I just peel the sticky part off so I can move them around. And I love this paper here with these cute little gray and white speech bubbles. I'm going to fussy cut out a couple of those. I didn't want to add clouds to the top of my layouts. I know I do that a lot, especially when I have like a rainbow or water or something like that on the bottom part of the page. But I just did that. I feel like I've done that lately with several of my layouts. And so I thought maybe speech bubbles can go above everything instead of clouds. And that magical chipboard piece kind of looks like a cloud. So I'm just trying to do a different take on clouds. And this is just a possibility. I'm going to wind up changing some things. But here's another thing of speech bubbles. These are all puffy stickers. Tried a couple of those. I don't wind up using them, but you never know until you try things out in certain places if you're going to like it or if it's going to work. So yeah, and I just cut those out individually, still stuck on the plastic, so I can move those around. And I did know that I wanted to use some flowers, but I didn't want to use these entire large floral die cuts, so I just cut out the flowers that I wanted from the die cut. So you don't have to just fussy cut from pattern paper. You can also fussy cut embellishments or chipboard pieces or die cuts or whatever you want. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just trying things out. And it turns out that most of the embellishments are going to be clustered really close around the photo. I tried out that chipboard piece that says, yeah, above the photo there. And I liked it, but I felt like it was too much color on top of too much color. Like it's right on top of that multicolored pocket life card. And so I wind up moving that. Sometimes I like to break up the things with lots of color with something solid. And so, yeah, I let it sit there for a while. And I kind of know where I'm going to go at this point. So now I can remove what I have and then start to work on the background. I do want to go ahead and assemble the die cut. So this is just a quick little simple thing. You just add some glue or some adhesive to the back of the cut file and then glue the letter right on top of it. So that's just one easy way to back a cut file. There's all kinds of ways that you could do it, but since this one only had 3 pieces, I just did it that way. And here's what I'm going to do. I knew that I wanted to color the word dream, so that's why I cut the cut file on white cardstock, and I have not added any gesso or anything to it. And my first thought was I wanted to make the word dream gold and shimmery. So I pulled out the shimmers that we got in last month's color kit, the Christmas Cheer, because it's kind of a gold shimmery glitter color. And I only wanted to paint the bottom half of the word, so it kind of looked like from a white to gold ombre. And I just dab a little bit of paint, use my finger to kind of smudge it so it kind of fades up into the top of the letter. And I think this turned out really well. And no gesso was needed for this because I'm not using that much. and I wasn't planning on, you know, blending a lot of colors together or anything. But then when I put it back on top of the background here with the photo, it just looked too light. Like, I don't know. I felt like it blended into the photo too much. And I wanted the word dream to overlap the photo. So I decided to come back in and color it purple. So that color is in this month's color kit, the January color kit. And it's the shimmers also. It's in Inklings, and it's called Precious Posy. So I'm just going to go right over the gold with the purple and do the same technique. Now, the Inklings aren't as what I would call glittery. They're more shimmery. Whereas the actual Shimmers Original, that's the gold color I used first from last month, that's what I would call glittery when it dries. But the Inklings are more of a shimmer. If you're looking for the actual finish of each paint, most times I'm just going for color. And, you know, all the shimmer finishes are beautiful to me. But I like the purple better. And you still really can't read the word dream because of where it overlaps. So I'm going to fix that here and show you. I did add another bit of the purple, another layer of it to make it a little bit darker. So I take a little scrap piece of vellum and layer it underneath the word dream to make it a little more solid. And it just makes it a little bit easier to read. Okay, so let's get going on the background. Okay, so I'm going to do some blending and some mixing and some matching. I used these two colors on my layout for last week. The blue spray is from this month's color kit. It's a Shimmers. It's a Vibes Snow Wayman. And then I mixed it with a very old, well, it's not old, but when I say old, I meant we got it a long time ago from an older kit. It's a Lindy's Stamp Gang spray, and it's called Mad Hatter Mint, and it's more of a green color. And I mixed those two together because I wanted to get that aqua tone. So I'm going to mix those two together, add some water, use the brush, flip the page this way and that way, and right away you can see what I was talking about earlier. You can see the modeling paste shapes just pop off the page. And I love adding liquid like this to stencil work with modeling paste because the color just sort of runs in and around the modeling paste, and so you get this really cool shape of whatever the stencil was. This is the third color that we get this month. It is more of a yellow color, and it's called Meet Me at Sunset, and it's also in Inklings. This is just kind of an experiment here. I know that I'm going to be having lots of, basically a rainbow variety of colors with everything. So I thought, let me just kind of play around and see what all colors I can add to this background and just see how it looks. So I knew that adding the yellow to the aqua color that I've got blended here would look a little bit more on the lime green side. And then I thought, well, let's add in some more of the purple, kind of blend that together. And it's just kind of an experiment. And the good thing about doing this is I can basically dab up anything that I add that I don't really like, because I have the gesso on the cardstock. And the gesso, if you're unfamiliar with gesso, or you've never used it, or you hear it and you wonder, why do I need gesso? You don't necessarily need it, but if you're going to do something like this where you want to add lots of color and kind of have it run and blend together, the gesso acts as a barrier between all the water and the paper, and it allows everything to kind of run and blend together before it dries. And it does eventually dry, but it just gives you some time to play around, and it allows you to get that nice soft watercolor effect if that's what you're going for, you know. And also the gesso in this case is white, so the colors that I'm adding aren't changing because they're really not going on the purple background. They're going on the white area. So if these colors were being mixed on the actual purple cardstock, they would look different because the colors would change because they were going on purple. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I just added in another color from last month, that hot, well, it's not hot pink. It's more of like a reddish pink. We got that last month. It's called Naughty or Nice, and I just blended in a little bit of that. I kind of just used all the colors from last month and all the colors from this month and kind of just started mixing and matching. Now this is a spray from an older kit. I'm almost out of it. It's called Cotton Candy Pink, and that is a Lindy's that we got probably over a year ago. But I use it a lot because it's a really pretty pink that goes with a lot of things. So I thought I'd add in some of that, see how it looks. And you know, I know that I say this a lot, backgrounds look crazy until you put everything back on top of it. I just continued to play around with it, and I wanted this to look kind of soft, so I made sure that I did dab some of it up before you know, it dried really, really dark and bold, because I didn't want the background to be as bold as the colors in that little rainbow. I wanted the background to be a little more on the subtle side, and I did add some more of the concentrated purple without dabbing it up as much, where you're going to be able to see it above the photo and below the title. So that's why those darker purple splotches are there. And I'm going to add some adhesive foam under the word big, so when I attach the title and it's overlapping the photo, it's going to be the same height. And I'm going to go ahead and glue down that piece of tissue paper. I think I said vellum earlier, but that's tissue paper. It's not vellum. But it is going to make the word dream a little bit more visible. And I know it's hard to see here with my desk lights shining on top of it, but you are able to see it a little bit better. And I love how me and my daughter are just kind of tucked in the word dream there. I love that. All right, so now I'm going to get back to embellishing. I'm going to try to bring back everything that I had earlier. Some of those fussy cut flowers, some chipboard circles, that yeah piece that I wind up replacing with something else. Yeah, I just like to play around. You know, sometimes this part takes longer than the background part because, you know, you may put a flower here and then 5 minutes later you don't like it there, or, you know, another embellishment or something. Now on a lot of these flowers I do cut off the white border just because I either want everything to have a white border or I want nothing to have a white border. And so I decided to have no white borders. So I fussy cut lots of white borders or the white trim around some of the flowers so you can't see it. All right, so I'm going to go with my thread edition here. I haven't glued anything down yet. I'm going to go with the aqua color over to the left area. And I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to disturb anything because I like how this is looking and I want to make sure I remember where I've put everything. And I just like to add thread in various places on my pages because it adds fun texture, it adds pops of color, it just adds a little bit of messiness to the already messy background. Right there I added that orangey yellow golden color kind of coming out from underneath the bottom of the cloud. And then I decided to use this chipboard frame piece as a little, kind of what I was talking about earlier, how when I have something colorful, I like to have something solid to break it up. And since I have that rainbow striped pocket life card kind of peeking on the top of the photo, that light blue frame sort of acts as a solid piece in between whatever it is I'm going to add above it. I was going to use that yeah piece, but I decided that it was too colorful. I wanted more solid things, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. It makes sense in my head. But then I used the magical cloud, so I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. I liked that there was pink in that magical piece, so I think I liked it because of that. It just worked better. I don't know. But I'm going to use that as a quote-unquote cloud and then embellish around it with the button stickers and some more flowers. So yeah, we're not going to have a bunch of clouds in this layout. We're just going to have some buttons and some flowers. Two things that really don't go together, but they do, don't they? Yes, they do. I'm going to make them go together. You know, the colors are perfect and I think they're fun. And some of the buttons have open holes, so you could add some thread in between the holes, and some of them have printed thread on the button already. And so I'm going to use kind of a mix of those. And again, you have some big ones, some small ones. I love the variety and sizes in all these embellishments because they're just awesome. So I try to figure out how I want to finish the top because I feel like there's a lot of little things going on, and yeah, I'm just, you know, like I said, nothing's glued down yet. We're just kind of playing around. I do want to pop up some of these flowers, so that's what I'm doing here, adding some adhesive foam because they got to have some dimension, because the magical piece is chipboard, so it's already popped up off the page. Now we're going to start gluing. Okay, this takes a while, so I don't film the whole gluing process because it's not that exciting. But yeah, we're going to glue very, very carefully. And what I wind up doing is I glue this down. This was the day before, well, day one of making this layout. So I glue everything down, and then I set some heavy things on top of it, because between the background and all that stuff, and then all this wet glue going on, the background was kind of bumpy and wavy. So I wanted to make sure that everything was glued down flat. So I took some time to do that overnight, and now it's the next day. Everything is pretty much flattened out, and everything is glued down, and I really, really like it so far. But we're going to keep going. I'm going to add in those little speech bubbles that I fussy cut earlier. I'm going to wedge in a couple of those, and I like that they're light gray. I think light gray is so pretty, and it goes with these colors, I think. I don't know why, it just does. But I'm going to pop those up as well and add those down, get those glued. And I still wanted, you know, all that background texture to be visible up top and down below. So I'm trying to, you know, say, whoa, let's not cover up this entire page, because, you know, I like me some white space. And by white space, I just mean open area to let things breathe. So, yeah. But we're going to continue to add things because we're in the mood to add things. And so that's what's happening. I just felt like the left side above the photo was a little naked, and it just needed some little flowery friends. So I added the tiniest flowers that I could find, and I think it's okay. It's still open, still got the texture showing. I'm adding some pink thread underneath that top flower there that I'm going to run off the top of the page. That's what I'm doing there. And then I'm going to add in a couple of these little chipboard phrase stickers. I'm going to add in a couple of the orange ones. There's some really tiny ones. This one says smile, and then another one's going to say yes. This one is a light blue color that says embrace uniqueness, I think is what it says. But yeah, I'm just going to put it right on top of the G, since I've already got that other piece on top of the B, and add in those. And then I'm going to add some splatters, because, you know, I haven't added splatters yet. So we're going to go with the purple color. Going to add in more water to the lid so I could really water it down, because the inklings are pretty thick once you get them mixed up with water, and they're just easier to flick around for splatters if they're watered down a little bit thinner. So that's all I'm doing there. I'm using my brush to do that. And then I'm going to add in a little bit more down to the bottom. Since I've got all that stuff at the top, I felt like we needed some more stuff down at the bottom, and I needed that red color. Who am I using red and purple together? I don't know, but it just goes. You know, when you have a rainbow, anything goes. I do add some gold cord thread type of material through the two buttons that I use that have holes in them, and I had to fight with it, but I cut that out. Anyway, you can see there, it's just some gold thread that's a little bit thicker. It's not sewing thread, it's like embroidery type thread, but it's shiny gold, and I had to have that in those buttons to finish those off. And then I figured, well, we need to have some gold splatters, so that's what we're going to do now. And I pulled out the Jen Hadfield gold glitter spray. We got that a year ago in the Christmas kits, so it's been quite a while, but it's awesome. It's beautiful, shiny gold. And then yeah, I felt like I wanted to jazz up the big a little bit here, so I just smudged some white gesso on it. I did add my journaling with a gold pen. That's the final layout. This video is long enough, so I didn't show you adding my journaling. I just wanted to get to the bottom of it. And there's there it is. There's the final layout. I really like how this turned out. I love all the texture. I love that it was a big old mess. I loved painting the background. There's the title. I love how that looks. And you can see now that it's definitely more visible with that tissue paper behind it. But I know this was a really long video. Thank you if you stuck with me through the whole thing. I truly appreciate it. I'm just a very slow scrapper, and as you can see, I put a lot into my layouts, and it takes me a while to get to the end. And I just try to keep in as much as I can because I want to show you all the details and all the things that I do to get to this final layout. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some ideas or you were inspired in some way. I hope this, yeah, gives you something to start your next layout with. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you next time.